This is becoming a professional bass player. My name's Deborah and this is the video journal of my career transition. No prizes for guessing that Simply Red bass line today because that's a really obvious one. I've actually changed my sound. I listened back to one of my earlier YouTubes the other day and realised that my speaker had blown. Sometimes I'm so focused on the content of what I'm saying that, sound takes a back seat sometimes. And I've realised the sound was dreadful. So I've swapped out my old amp that wasn't actually a bass amp. I just used to keep it by the side of my desk. And it used to sit when I still am a therapist, but when I was doing for therapy full time, it used to sit behind my therapy chair so that whenever I had a free session, I could just plug in behind me and get going. But things change and it's time to move on. So I've now got my performance amp down here next to me at my desk so I can create a better sound. And sound is something that I'm going to talk about today. Usually I'm concentrated on notes. Am I making the right notes? Am I getting there fast enough? Am I getting there in the correct pattern with the correct spaces? And by all means, anyone who is a better bass player than me, and there's lots of them, if there's anything you can hear in my sound in the beginnings of these videos, please feel free to send ideas, corrections, things I could do better. I'm very, very open to all of those. For a long time, I think you remember, it was actually Ray, the lead guitarist in Divine Funk, said to me, "What do you want to sound like, Deborah?" And it's sort of the beginning of my journey with how the bass sounds, not so much about how I play, which is also important, but there's, it's time to move on to something deeper. And I thought, do you know what? I really ought to learn what all the knobs do. And that will tell you how basic sometimes things are. So here's my 6-string bass, and people don't often play a 6-string bass, although Anthony Jackson, who was Shaka Khan's bassist, did. But I love it. I bought it off my friend Stephen Duke, who's a phenomenal bass player, and I heard him play it and I just love the sound. And it's never really been a problem to me that it's got 6 strings. I don't find it more complicated. I don't know if that's because I didn't have years and years getting used to a 4-string or a 5-string before I switched. So, it's just, for me, it's easier to get the high notes if they're up here rather than having to move up and down the neck, because sometimes you get that sort of, I don't know if you can hear that, the sound of strings, which can be fun sometimes, but you don't want too much of it in there. But I thought, do you know what? All these knobs, I really ought to write down what they do. And this is where I've cheated a bit. Is it cheating? Or what? I've used ChatGPT. So I was just sitting there one day and I thought I would really like to sound, not just get the notes in the right place, but sound more like the bass player in Simply Red. How do I do that? I thought, I'm going to see if ChatGPT knows. And it came up with an answer. Normally I would ask a teacher this, but I'm not in lessons at the moment, although I have one coming up. And I thought, well, let's start with what the knobs are. And according to ChatGPT, and again, I know that people will correct me where I'm wrong, and I'm very grateful for that. This one here, is volume. Actually, let's go down the other way because there. This one here is volume. This one here, this little piggy, is the balance between this pickup and the neck pickup. And I can't remember but that changes the sound. This one is whether you want bass, how much low end you want. This is the mid, and that's the treble. Now, I do know in my head what bass, mid and treble are. I'm trying to think of a way of describing it to you, but how much of the low stuff you hear, how much of the middle of the notes you hear, and how much of the treble. I think actually, as I'm talking about this, I once went on a perfume course, and perfume has bass, mid and treble. So the treble would be the top notes of the perfume, which is what you get as soon as you smell it. the lighter bits. After an hour or so, you'd get to the mid, what hangs around in the mid. And when you've been wearing a perfume all day, you'll just get the bass notes. So sometimes when you see perfume described and it's got bass notes of amber and I don't know, whatever, and amber and rose and top notes of iris or something like that, it's basically what you can smell over time. And I'm sort of understanding that a sound is composed in that way as well, I think. And essentially, ChatGPT told me, and I've drawn little diagrams. Can you see that? That's a sort of very rudimentary drawing of where all those knobs are for each song. And it sort of turns out that for Simply Red songs, generally there's sort of, it's the same sort of a sound. So let's just stand up. So this one, if I put it in the middle, they want it to be nearer the neck, so it says 75% neck, so a little bit more that way. Plus 15% on the bass, so a little bit over the middle mark on the bass knob. Actually, that's probably an easiest one to see the difference. So if I turn that right up, big and boomy. If I turn it right down, all that bass and oomph comes out of the sound, doesn't it? So go to the middle point and then turn it up by 15% or to 1:30 in the morning. The mid, Simply Red have down 10%. And the treble, let's find the middle one, is also down 1%. So it's a sort of, if the middle of the dial was 12 o'clock midnight, or 12 o'clock, the treble and the mid are on 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock, and the bass is up to 1:30, and the neck is up to about 3 o'clock, and then the volume is just what you want it to be. So I've gone through, and also it says, so for example, it's got a style for each song. So It's Only Love, it says caress, not pluck. Let the amp do the work. So I'm gradually going through each Simply Red song, writing down what the pattern is and where the dials should be. I mean, I think I'll find it quite difficult in the middle of a gig because I'm quite high on performance values and looking at the audience and connecting. And so I'll probably find something that works for most songs, or if there's a song that really demands a change, obviously I'll make that change. And then that will enable me to engage with the audience, but also get the sound right. Because I'm noticing now I've done about 5 or 6 of these, they're generally quite similar, but I'll look out for one that's different. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. That's where I'm at. I'm also going out today to hand out Truly Red flyers to all the hairdressers. We've got our gig coming up. We've got a rehearsal Sunday. We've got a gig at the Palace Hotel the following Saturday, Valentine's Day. And I've spoken to the hotel. Ticket sales or bookings for the restaurant are going very well. They've asked me to estimate how many people are going to turn up. And I'm just like, oh, so that's really difficult to do because everybody says, oh, yes, I'm definitely coming to your gig. But, you know, things happen, and the best of intentions, you know, it's very, very hard, as all musicians will know, to know what from somebody saying they're coming to your gig is a surefire attendee. Right, so you have a good day, and I'll be back on Tuesday with my next film. Bye.